Welcome back, everyone, to the Morning Grind Fondo, Season 2, Race Number 3. Today we head to New York for 6 laps of the 6 train reverse. You're following this race with Team Dirt. Dirt stands for Dad's Inside Riding Trainers, and you'll see us riding in those beautiful pink Level 20 jerseys. For this recap, I am again joined by Jason Mutchler and Ken the Badger Nowell, notorious for his recent Alp Du Pizza fame. Check out their YouTube channels and the link provided in the description. Now here's a warning, I'm trying something completely new today and this has gotten very crazy. If you like what we're all about, having fun racing and trying to build enthusiasm for Zwift, click that subscribe button. Our current series leader is Chris Osberg, chased by Paul Buckland and C. Wolf. Last week it was another sprint finish with Chris Osberg taking his first win of the series and giving him the series lead. Paul Buckland and C. Wolf are in second and third, and the Dirt team with 5 in the top 10. This week's course is the 6 train reverse for 6 laps, a fast and very punchy course in Central Park, New York. Each lap is 4 miles with 203 feet of climbing coming on 2 short 8% climbs, a total of 24 miles and 1,200 feet. This should come down to the sprinters at the end of the race. The start of the race this week was a particularly nasty one. I took a giant bite off of the cornucopia, pushing out of the gate with 500 plus watts. This course is definitely a hard one to hold a wheel in. It's like one long exaggerated section of the Essies in Watopia. With small rollers and kickers at every mile, holding the draft is an absolute requirement. Any gap that opens has got to be shut down in a very swift hurry. At 2.4 miles in, the blob in the mini-map has become a strung-out snake, and the selection process has begun. These long, slow inclines of 4% are absolutely tearing our group apart over this first lap. Still holding somewhere between 300 to 325 watts, it's all I can do to hold the wheel in front of me. I hooked up alongside Ken Nowell in a large band of the Dirt Pink Wave. Meanwhile, Jason Mutchler had made the front selection and their group was slowly gaining distance on our chase group. At 4.2 miles in, the end of each lap is a short punch up the sprint to the lap banner. Our chase group was dug in and still working to catch the back of the lead group, who had tapered off ever so slightly. While we made contact on the climb, it remained too much work to bridge the final gap. Our chase group, including Ken and myself, were officially dropped off of the back. I also noticed Buckwild Buckland with a Wi-Fi dropout blipping into the screen and joining my wheel. Not much further down the road, he had another, removing second place from today's race. Jason Mutchler had hung in with the group as they continued to drill the pace, while Ken, Brian Carver, and I chased to reel the gap back in. 350, 375, even 400 watts just trying to catch this lead group. The gap was too big, and despite getting close over the next mile, the pace was too high to catch on to. I was burning every match I had just trying to rejoin. I decided that the best thing to do was to sit back and rejoin our established chase group to work to recover what positions I could. After all, it's still early on, 4 miles into the race, and we will no doubt catch some of the cast-offs from the front group. After 1 lap and 6 miles of racing, the front group had been cut in third to a top 25. The names we expect are all in there, with Mellow Johnny, Sterney, Osberg, and others. We now had the group of race leaders and a chase group forming behind them, with C. Wolf, Buckland, and his teammate Bozart to help him. The peloton group, including Ken and myself, was 50 seconds behind the leaders as we passed the finish arch for the second time. Mutchler remained strong at the front while a brutal pace was led by Chris Osberg. On and on this went as we lapped Central Park. The front group continued to build a gap and pull away from those in the chase groups. At 23 minutes into the race and half the distance covered, the lead group had a 1-mile advantage on the peloton. The leaders continued to hammer at the pace, forcing Mutchler and the rest to work and bridge several gaps that had emerged. Jason Mutchler had some great riding, hitting 500 plus watts several times over to stay connected. This is a guy doing some great racing and live streaming. Just look at that clean cutout of him on the screen, suffering away at the front of the group. This race is a great example of what happens when you lose contact with the pack and the crucial role your avatar's draft status plays. With 36 minutes of racing behind us, the peloton was continuing to lose time to the leaders. Now, 1.5 miles behind the front of the race, I was struggling just to cling on to the peloton with 7 to go. 20.1 miles in and 3.8 to go, the leaders had passed under the lap arch for the final time before the finish. This final lap had begun with about 20 remaining in the front group. Wilson, Samashin, Hadfield, and Busick remained in the front group with Sterney and Mutchler. Chris Osberg continued to keep the pace high on the front, 35 miles an hour as this group screamed into the climb and swallowed up a group of dropped A racers. Osberg attacking mercilessly on the front, 1.7 to go. Mutchler calls it, "This is the move!" The pace increases and 350 watts or better for the final. But Mutchler still looks like he's under control at only 150 beats per minute on his heart rate. The cornucopia of agony and suffering goes deeper, my friend. Half a mile to go. John Duke and Alyanak show up at the front. The pace continues to climb. Finally, Havel makes the first move, followed by Osberg, and Osberg staying over the front with Mutchler in an explosive finish. A final group sprint at the line has left Chris Osberg the man to beat. He stayed on the front all day, absolutely crushing the pack, and still pulled off the win with this uphill sprint. Mellow Johnny in second, with Robert Anderson in third. Dirt takes 4 of the top 10, with great racing from Alexander Samashin, Jason Mutchler, Jason Sterney, and Tim Busick. With yet another win, Chris Osberg continues to reign over the series standings with 232 points, including back-to-back wins. Chris Adlington from Innovation moves into second, and Mellow Johnny from Vision in third. Jason Stern remains Dirt's team leader in fourth, and Buck Wild Buckland taking a heavy fall from second down to fifth because of his dropout. Fortunately for him and all the rest of us, this is a 12-race series, and only the top 9 finishes will be counted. In the team competition, Dirt continues to dominate the B category with double the next squad from R2R Racing, followed by Innovation. Next week, the MGF series turns to Watopia in the Volcano circuit. We are going to be hitting a blistering pace next week for 20 miles of fast racing as we hit the Volcano circuit in the counterclockwise direction. So go hit that subscribe button and catch us next week in Watopia.